All good.
What fun.
Okay. Nice to have you back on a stream. I think last time you had
Thanks.
your window open. I just remember your there was like a
Oh, the
very
sunlight coming
yeah
in. I know.
yeah.
Quite a different setup now. I'm in a different room.
What
It's
time is
much
it?
better.
What time is it for you right now?
It's 2 p.m. for me.
2 p.m. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so I've
We're
got back-to-back clients happening in about an hour and a half. So
okay.
we've
Yeah,
got a
we
little bit of time up our sleeve.
okay. Yeah, we'll make it quick. We'll make it quick. Okay,
Sure, it's all right.
so I I wanted to have you on, kind of just like help me. I like my goal was like I thought it would be pretty beneficial for like other players, also for myself, obviously, if they saw like what like a real case of burnout was like, I guess, because I think
Sure.
I 100% experienced that and am
Well,
still experiencing it.
right.
Um, and yeah, I guess I just want to dive into that with you, and then my goal is to be as open and vulnerable as possible,
Hmm.
to hopefully like help other people out as well.
Cool. Good
So
on you, Sam.
yeah, thank you. So I don't know how to start with this. I had stuff written down that I hopefully would want to go over, but I would prefer it to be like more free flow. If I just
Okay.
like lose like some like if I remember something I wanted to mention, I'll look back at the notes. But yeah,
Right. All right. I'll pretend that you're my client, shall I?
okay, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, Sam. So tell me, you think you've experienced burnout? So tell me what you mean by that. What were the symptoms initially?
Hated Counter Strike. I am starting to like it again, but I hated it for like 6 months. I dreaded the thought of playing CS. I dreaded the thought of streaming. I dreaded the thought of editing. Um, and then there was a brief period where I even dreaded like video games and even just being in my room. Like I just hated
Right.
it, and like it would make me like it would make me like feel this like anxiety and almost like I'd feel sick to the stomach like thinking about playing.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
um, was there something in the lead up to feeling this way, or it just snuck up on you and bang, you were like that the next day?
Um, I think there definitely was a lead up because I've been definitely trying to think about this stuff myself too, like what could have caused it. But there was 100% a lead up. I think like slowly losing my passion for the game and it more turning into a chore and like a
Right.
checklist versus something that's enjoyable. And then
Right.
it just slowly turned into like a full blown burnout.
I'm gonna step out of my clinician role, and I'm just going to talk to the audience a little bit as well.
Yeah, do that. Yeah.
So, so when people are experiencing burnout, it can come up like fairly suddenly. If a team has been working very hard together and everything's enjoyable, they've been working really hard. Like I'm thinking of like I've experienced this before when my team has been at a boot camp and we've had like online work before, just normal scrims and whatever. Then we've got together on a boot camp, and it's like not 24/7 because that'd be impossible nearly, but it's lots and lots of hours of being with everybody, doing our scrims, analyzing stuff because we're all there and we can fix things up right away. So we're spending more time than we normally would. We're at a boot camp, we're at an internet cafe, sort of doing all this work, and I didn't realize it at the time, but for my team, all this extra work, this extra mental, cognitive bandwidth type stuff going on, burned us out. And I kicked myself that I didn't pick it up ahead of time. So any time that there's even a fun activity where there's lots more hours involved, there's a risk of burnout there, even if it's fun. So when when you know if you're burnt out, if you're trying really hard and yet performance is not there, you're doing your best and you just not, the timing isn't right, or just it just you're cognitively burned out. You can't perform as well as you normally can, and so it's a myth to think oh, I have to hate what I'm doing in order for burnout to happen. That's not true. You can love it but just be doing a little bit too much of it. So as soon as you notice that you're starting to get burned out, that's the best time of all to just cut back. And when I'm saying cut back, I mean stop doing everything to do with the game for at least a day, ideally 2 days. If it's early on, maybe one day will be enough, but 2 days is probably really good. If you don't, and like if you're at a LAN and there's a competition coming up, um, people say, I haven't got time to stop playing. I've got to keep playing. The risk is you're making the burnout much worse, and it will last longer, and it'll take you longer to recover. So if you really and truly cannot, you've got a competition in 2 days' time, let's say, you can't not play, but you have to wind it back a whole lot. Like, do the very minimum you can do in order to recover, because your mental health is worth more than a competition. And the team should sort of understand that too. And it's sometimes it only affects one person, but it can affect more than one person on a team. But even if it affects one person on a team, the team is not going to perform well by continuing to train hard. It will just you can't play well under those circumstances. So you've got to rest. And when I'm saying rest, I mean absolutely touch nothing to do with the game. So people say, oh, we could do our media day, or we could do, it'll be okay to play ranked, or, ideally you want just a rest from all activities that require you to be there. And if you have that sort of blanket, you're more likely to recover much faster. So that's the first point I wanted to make.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. I think I definitely did not do that at all.
Right.
Yeah, and I want to say too, for the rest of this video, like, don't be afraid to do what you just did and branch off, because I think there's definitely gonna be adjacent cases of burnout of people who are probably watching this, like adjacent to mine. So if you want to touch on like other topics that aren't exactly like what I'm dealing with too, to like help the viewers out, that would,
I'll try.
yeah, whatever you think is like helpful.
Whatever path we go down, we'll go down. I haven't got an agenda for today either, so we'll just see how it goes.
Okay, cool.
All right. So if you were my client, then Sam, I would advise you to take a rest immediately and not do anything to do with the game. Now, you've continued to play for the last couple of months, is that right?
No. So
okay, great.
I mean, you were there. Like you were there the last time I played. You were there up until I burned out pretty much with the.
Oh, it wasn't me, was it?
No, it was not you. It was not you. You kept me going. You kept me going. No, it definitely was not you. But you were there until.
Why didn't you tell me you were feeling burned out, Sam?
I didn't know I was burned out. I thought.
Right.
I don't know. I was just like, I just got to try harder, and I think that's that is the issue, because like what you're saying.
To the point where trying harder makes it worse.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I almost had like a recovery debt built up, where like I think I was like ignoring so many of my real life needs and just like stuff that I should be doing in real life. Not that I was like some fucking like hermit, but like things like, because I was it was like
a lot on your plate, as I recall.
Yes. Yeah. And it like stuff would like I'd be trying my best, and then like I don't know, we just like didn't perform, and so then I would try my best plus an hour extra practice, an hour extra prep, or I'd spend like more time on the weekend watching demos, and then like taking away from my time to myself to like try and fix this like I guess this
you
like
need the mental recovery time.
Yeah, and I think doing that like almost had this like debt effect where like I just, because you asked if I have been playing recently, and recently, like probably within like the last month, maybe like a game or two, but it's been like 6 months of I hated the game. I hate it. Like,
right.
Yeah.
I must say I've got experience of being burned out as a university lecturer.
Okay.
And I had a boss that I really disliked intensely, and I dreamed of killing him. I was so upset about having to work for this guy that I did not respect, and I quit my job. But I know I was burned out at the time, and you get burned out for several reasons. One is excess hours, but also, and I think this is possibly with you, is I want to say it's under the literature as being underappreciated, but in actual fact, it's where your expectations aren't being met.
Okay.
And so I think this is where your one comes in, that you were hoping to be so much more successful in CS than you were, and these expectations that you had for yourself weren't being fulfilled, and I think that's where the burnout part comes from for you.
100%.
In my opinion.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's all to do with expectations in that point. And so if you're feeling I'm putting in all this effort and nothing is coming right for me, then that's a situation that's ripe for burnout as well.
Mm.
And so again, the only thing you can do is step back, just reassess. And this is where a discussion about maybe values comes into it. Who am I when I'm not playing the game? What do I want to get out of playing the game? What does it mean to me to be a player at this level or higher or lower? And so you sort of work through those ideas. Who am I? Have I lost myself a little bit here? And you just work through those sort of ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think I over-identified with what I was pursuing, and because that was some of the stuff I had like in my reflections. I was like, I couldn't, I couldn't have that healthy space between like my life and the game because I was so
Right.
like attached to the outcomes I wanted that like I was like I need to double down. I need to double down even more,
Mm.
and it just like
Again, the working harder is not always the smartest way to go about this.
yeah, it definitely was like the the worst thing to do, 100%.
Right. And I think, as I said, you can regain the love of the game again if you sort through, okay, well, what exactly are my values here? What is it I actually need to do? What is it I should be doing, or what is it I want to do? Sorting out the needs and the wants
Yeah, yeah,
is really important. We've all got a finite amount of time. How do we use it to be the most effective we possibly can?
yeah. Yeah, I guess if we can dive into that, because that's some stuff that I
Hmm.
was like discovering recently, where I was like, because I was like, okay, there's definitely a reason why I just hate being in my room right now, and
Right.
like I've talked about this with like my family and friends too, because like it was pretty bad for a while, but like
Mm.
I felt like almost all my hobbies and like what I did for work, everything that I was like going on in my life involved social isolation. And not saying that these things were inherently bad. It's just they involved social isolation. So like, practicing for Counter Strike, I have to be in my room on a computer, and then my
Right.
job, I work a desk job, and so I see like a client like once every half hour. There's not really chit chat, like they just come in
Hmm.
and go to the therapy. Uh,
Professional. Yep.
yeah, and then team practice. That's like 3 hours of on my computer, and like the only time I'd ever get out was the gym. But when you're at the gym, like you're working out, like you can't spend
You're
all
working
the
out.
time talking. And like
Right.
I discovered like this, like really recently, like I had just have this need to go socialize and just be out in
Mm.
society, and like because I actually was like I'm getting a second job, hopefully as like a waiter or like a server, because like
Hmm.
that
We have to
sounds
interact with people.
yes, that sounds so fun. Like it sounds like awesome. Like I want to talk
You're
with
an
people.
extroverted person. I don't know why you're
Yeah,
locking yourself away all the
I
time.
know that's the dude. Like that's yeah, and that's why I was like, this is like a need I definitely have that was not being fulfilled with count. It was partially being fulfilled
Right.
because you're there with the team, but you're not there with the team. You know what I mean? Like you're on a headset. You don't even see their face. Like so that was definitely like
But
one of the
hang on,
needs
I
I
would have
noticed.
thought that I know you've been a student. Are you still a student?
Well, so that was the other thing too is that during the time I was competing, I was taking a gap year. So I was like, I was in school. Now I'm back in school,
Oh,
so that helps a
right.
lot
Because that
too.
would meet your needs a little bit too. Just seeing the variety of people and chatting to them, that would be helpful
Oh
also.
yeah, it did. It because I went back to school recently, like this
Hmm.
fall, and that helped a ton. I was
Right.
like so looking forward to it. Which that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
another thing too. I realized one of my needs that like kind of led to the burnout, and also my attachment to like needing to go pro was like like a legit like logistical issue where it's like uh current like I didn't my backup plan was YouTube and streaming, and then like I post hundreds of videos. I put more hours into editing and all this other stuff, and I come to find out it's just this the audience. There's not that big of an audience for professional Counter Strike content enough to make money off of, and that was like fuck like what do I do now? Like when I realized that, like bro, there's like YouTube like Smirky, like Nard out here. They make amazing content, and I'm sure they make like decent money with sponsorships and stuff. But like like Kerrigan. Like you
The
look at
pie isn't big enough.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
not big. Like Kerrigan's like the best IG on the world. I click on his channel, he gets like 10K views. It's like if he's not making crazy views off of YouTube, he's like who's to say I
But
am? So
10K is a pretty good number for being able to sustain yourself.
you think so to be able to like live off
Oh
that?
yeah, I think so. I've got a streamer in the UK who lives quite nicely off
Really?
5K.
Oh,
Yeah.
10K streaming views?
Mm.
Because I was talking about like his YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
Because Kerrigan's YouTube videos would get like 10K views. Like if you get 10K viewers on a stream, like that's huge. Like that's
Yeah. Okay.
which that's the other thing too is that when you compete in CS, it's really hard to stream because you can't stream practices like anti-strat. So it's
Mm.
like really hard to
Mm.
pursue a streaming career. So like it'd have to be like pretty much all YouTube, and it's like that was like my backup plan, and I was like, dang, this isn't really
Right.
sustainable. And so like there was like this
Yeah.
need, like I have to go pro because I'm not in school right now. Like I don't have a backup plan anymore, and there was like that like anxiety around like what am I gonna do if this fails, which that's no
Yeah.
longer there because I'm like, oh, I'll be like Michelle, I'll be a sports psychologist. Like I'm in school for this now, so it's like, who cares if I don't
Right.
go pro at this point? I have something I'd actually really
Got a
enjoy
plan.
doing. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that sort of helps get you out of burnout is working out, okay, what is my plan? Because it's usually your goals have to be realigned in some way. You might
Mm.
have had some goals and then they might have changed and maybe you haven't adapted to that yet. So that's where, you get out of the burnout if you reevaluate your goals and see, okay, what's next for me? What do I need to do that meets my values? I
Yeah.
forgot to say, Sam, I ended up my story about wanting to kill my boss, but I didn't finish it off by saying,
You did kill
look,
him?
I drove past. No, I didn't. I drove past my workplace a number of times. Actually, I took detours around my workplace. So I couldn't drive past it because it made me
Really?
sick in the guts to be past there. So I know
Really?
exactly the feeling of being burned out, unappreciated, and just having to realign myself for what I want to do. And that's where I got right more into sports psychology.
Yeah, because you're like you want to like fix that issue. Like that's what made you get into it
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because dude, that it was insane. Like to think like this is my room. I
Yeah. Well,
hated
if you
being in
think
my
about the
room.
pairing, it's like Pavlovian
Yeah, Pavlov's dogs.
psychology.
Yeah.
You're pairing being in a room with something you hate, and so therefore you no longer want to be in your room. Of course, it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I was gonna say what I was about to say something. Oh, also sorry if I seem not all there. I sparred for like 3 hours a day, and I left with a headache. So we might
Oh,
be
you poor
mildly
thing.
concussed or something. But if I
You taking some painkillers?
no, I'm good. I'm
You got some
good.
Panadol or something?
No, I'm chilling. I'm chilling.
All
But
right, all right.
if
Take care. If you suddenly keel over, I'll say, Sam, wake up.
yeah, you gotta yell really loud. But yeah, if I
Oh
slip a
dear.
question, that's probably why I was having trouble talking earlier.
You're
So
doing a good job so far.
thank you. But okay, I was about to say something. You mentioned your work. What were we talking about before that? I think it was
We're talking about
expectations.
expectations and changing values.
Oh, that's what it was. Changing values. That was definitely
Hmm.
like yeah, that 100% happened during the period of burnout, which almost like retrospectively, I'm like that was going to happen no matter what, the burnout, and it's not like I don't think I could have avoided that. Like with the
No.
current like map
Well, there's
plan
things
of my
outside your
life.
control. Yeah.
Yeah.
Things within your control, things outside your control. If things are happening that are outside your control, all you got to do is just ride it out until
Yeah.
you get to, like, it's like being in a rip. I don't know if you know much about coastal water safety, but if you're in a rip in the ocean, there's no point fighting against the rip because you just
Mm,
tire yourself out and you're more likely to drown. What you
yeah.
need to do is ride the rip, just float till you get to calmer waters and then swim in where it's a bit calmer.
Okay.
That's the strategy. So same thing with a burnout. You don't fight against it. You just lie back and relax, just let it go,
Yeah.
and reevaluate your values at this point, and maybe come up with some new goals, and then you'll come back with renewed energy, and you'll forget all about the burnout. Hopefully,
Yeah, yeah. Do you have like do you know like if there's like an expected time frame for like because I think I had like a pretty severe case to the point where
it
I mean I couldn't be
sounds
in my
like it.
room.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, if I was working with you at the time, I would say to you, Sam, you probably need to make some changes to your room so it doesn't look and feel the same way that it always was.
Mm,
So whether it's a paint job or moving furniture around or something, but change your room so it looks and feels different to you.
okay.
That would help as well.
Okay. I'm actually gonna write that down because I
Yeah.
still have this. Like it's on the come down where I'm able to play the game. I was able to try out and enjoy
Hmm.
that somewhat, and also play the
Right.
game with friends and like have fun.
Hmm.
But it's still definitely I still definitely am suffering from stuff.
I
Let
think
me
I
write that
think
down real
part of
quick.
it, Sam, too, is giving yourself permission now to say, okay, I have changed my values. I'm not the same person. I can have fun here. It's not the
Yeah.
same as the way it was, and that
Which
will
yeah.
sort of help relieve it a bit too.
I was gonna. That's one of the things I wrote down was like a change in philosophy of approaching like CS and like just this area of
Hmm.
my life where uh and I've seen result. I even talked to this with 4BK, the aim coach. I've seen results from this like change of training styles, I guess you would call it, where
Hmm. Yep.
before I had like
Different
this,
perspective.
yeah, I had like a maximalist approach where I would do the absolute most I could as often as I could, as intensely as I could, because I wanted to perform the best I could. And it's like I realized that that doesn't really translate to every uh, field that like is like a field for a job, right? So like if you were to do that for like if you're a coal miner and you get paid for the pounds of coal that you make, like the more work you put in, the more pounds of coal you make, like you're gonna
Yeah,
make more
makes
money.
sense.
But if you're a player, it's not about work,
Doesn't
it's
work
about
cognitively.
no, it doesn't. You're a performer. And like if anything affects
Yeah,
performance, it doesn't matter if you're doing more work. It's affecting performance. You're going to perform worse.
right.
And
That's right.
so I switched to like a minimalist approach where it's like I'm going to do the very least amount of work as possible, as minimal as possible, and just have fun with it. Once I stop having fun, I'm done.
Right.
Like I don't want to get to the point of like where I was before. And at least with the aim training, I was doing before I burned out, I was doing like 3 90-minute sessions a day of aim training on like
Right.
one scenario trying to get a
Wow.
PR, and I wouldn't hit anything for weeks. And now I hop on for 15 minutes, not even every day. I'll hop on for 15 minutes like every other day, and I hit high scores. And I'll one run. I'll do a scenario once, and I'll hit a high score. And it's like
Right.
I don't know. So
Sam,
yeah,
I've sent you a picture. I don't know if you're able to put it on the screen or not.
on Discord, I think it's gonna show all the DMs. Let's see. It should be fine. Helping or hindering your progress. Thoughts or actions or words which do not help you move closer to your goal. It's actually
I
not
don't see it
towards
on
your
the
goal.
screen. Is it there?
Oh, it's on the stream. It's not. I don't think you'll
Okay,
see
no
it from
problems.
in Discord, but yeah, it's on
That's all right.
the stream.
So this is a picture that I use with teams a lot. It sort of is an overriding sort of thought process of how I work with teams. And so if you look on the right hand side where the trophy is, and everyone wants to go for the trophy, they all want that winning feeling or winning the competition or whatever it is on the left hand side. Oh, sorry, on the right hand side there. And you're somewhere in the middle here. And there are things that you can do that will help you, thoughts, actions, and words which help move you closer to your goal. And so you should be doing those things. And most people do. They identify what it is that they should be doing and try to do more of those things. But a lot of people forget to do the left-hand side of the model. And the left-hand side of the model there looks at thoughts, actions, and words which do not help you move closer to your goal. And you've got to stop doing those. And so the question that, when you're looking at how much work should I put in to get the most value, you should be looking and saying, okay, I should be doing a certain amount of hours because I know that leads to good performance. But as soon as I work out how many hours starts leading to poorer performance, I really need to ease back
Yeah,
because, it's that doing more is not always good for performance. And so you have to understand, okay, doing more of anything isn't always helpful. Where
yeah,
is my limit? What leads to good performance? I need to do the things that lead to good performance and stop doing the things that don't lead to good performance. Otherwise, I'm just dragging an anchor and I'm holding myself back.
yeah. And I guess I mean, 4BK also kind of answered this too, but I'm curious your opinion on it. Would you say this is like dynamic and changes over time? Like how much work you could put in? Like maybe it's your first year. Let's say you make it pro. It's your first year going pro, and like you have just this drive, and you could just put in like 8 hours a day, no problem. But then like second year, like is this something that should be like constantly reassessed and changed?
Probably. Life circumstances changes as you get older. Lots of things change how you do it. Now, I'm working at the moment with a guy, Zotek, I don't know if you know him.
The
He's
Valorant guy,
from
right?
Crossfire, Valorant. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's done a bit of CS. He's just a very, very talented person. I don't think he's human, honestly. And he just goes full bore and does tons and tons and tons of work. And for him, it's perfectly fine. He doesn't ever seem to be burned out. For him, too much is not enough. He says you can always be doing more, and I don't think he's human because for most normal people that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to work out, what are your limits, and so it's okay at, when you in your young years, in your 20s, working out, okay, well, what are my limits, and then you just adjust because you've seen it in traditional sport and esports. The older players, they don't have to do quite so much work. They're wily. They've got experience. They know what works for them, and they do that. So I think that's how they have good longevity in the game, is they don't burn themselves out doing the stuff they did when they were in their 20s. They're smart. They can adapt a bit more and still make it work for them.
Yeah. So then, so with that in mind, like the amount of work you put in, would you say that there is a like prescribed general
Nah,
recommendation, or it's all
you you
individualistic?
you I think we had this discussion maybe on the team when you were there too. The question is an age old one. How much work is enough work? If you're The answer will be different for different people. Some people need to have lots and lots of hard work, doing rank, playing the game, and some people play worse if they do that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely individual, but so long as you're not shirking and doing less work than you need, that's the question.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was gonna ask this 'cause I had a buddy, he's like one of my really good friends. His name's Mason. He's trying to go pro in Apex Legends. And we always
Hmm.
joke, it's like, dude, if one of us would just cave in and play each other's game, like we would both go pro. Cause like I've known this kid since my childhood. Like we're like
Right?
pretty much best friends. But we play
Yeah.
different games, and it's and I was talking to him about this, like the whole burnout stuff. Cause he
Yeah.
was in a similar circumstance, not exactly the same as mine. But he would say like he's like, because I'm telling him about how I've been like dabbling with doing less, and I've experienced like way more results from doing less. And he was just
Right.
concerned. He's like, yeah, like that sounds good on paper, but like he's like, but I feel like you need to work a lot because everyone who is pro works a lot, and it's like he's he's just worried that like maybe that there is some type
So
of
long as you're
like
not fooling
barrier.
yourself.
Okay.
Right. So long as you're not fooling yourself and thinking, oh, I can get away with less. You still got to work hard. You just got to make every moment count, and you have to, the number of hours might be less, might be fewer than the number of hours of your buddy, but so long as your performance isn't dropping off, that's the question. Is it still helping performance or not?
Yeah. Okay. So as long as you like you could finish a day of work, like okay, that was a good enough job. Like I did good today. Like that should be like
Hmm.
your general gauge, versus being like you
Yeah.
feeling
Well,
like you got away with slacking off. Then that might be a sign that you're not doing enough. Or
I think that's to do with mental talk, self-talk there,
okay,
because you're putting a judgment on the quality of your work. The
okay,
quality of your work comes about from what were the actual results you got. Were the results, you know, like did you play well? Do the figures back you up? Did your figures play? Did you think? Ugh, did you play well?
yeah.
um, and so if you're getting the results you want, then there's no question. That's what you should be doing.
So then I guess would you agree that like for people out there who are possibly suffering with similar circumstances as mine, they should like dabble and give a try of like a minimalist approach for like a week and see how well they do. Just be
Okay,
like,
well, it depends how early in the burnout process they are.
okay,
If they're catching it early, like I'm saying, 2 days is what you should aim for. Don't touch your computer. Don't play that game. You can play other games if you want to, but you don't touch that game for 48 hours, if at all possible. And then ease back into it if you want to. If you've been burned out for quite some time and you've been ignoring the signals and you've been persevering and trying harder and harder and it's not working, your performance has dropped right off, it'll take more than 2 days. It could take a week or two or longer. So it's hard to say, and for different people it also might be longer or shorter. So it's really hard to say, but 48 hours is minimum in my point of view. If you really and truly have a competition and you cannot afford to get away with less, just do scrims only, and that's, just do the very bare minimum you can to get through it. But the longer you keep persevering, the worse it'll be.
yeah.
So it's up to you. You've
How
got to regulate yourself a bit better.
yeah. How severe would you say is like my case then? Because it's been like
That sounds really
6
severe. If you're at the
months.
point where you cannot, if you feel sick walking into or past your room, that's quite a severe case.
Well, it wasn't
So
like walking past my room. It's just like my friends would be like, "Yo, hop on the game," and I was like, I'd just be like, "Nah, I'm doing something." Like
yeah,
I wouldn't want to hop on my computer at all. Like I
yeah.
hated. It wasn't like my
Right.
rooms like walking past it wasn't horrible, but like anything associated with being in my room, just like
No, that's a pretty
yeah.
severe case.
Okay. Yeah. Would you say it's
But come out the other side, Sam.
yeah, well that's what like also I'm curious about too was like that's one of the things I wrote down where it's like how do I know if I'm burned out or just genuinely lost my passion for the game? And like is it
Right.
possible to like
That's a good
recover that?
question. It's a good question because both ways, like both things get answered by reevaluating your goals, looking at what it is you value. Is what I'm doing meeting my values or not? And making some adjustments, and coming up with some new goals and new systems for you for the next attempt.
Okay. Yeah, cuz I think I answered this I think I found a way to answer this myself uh where I was like, okay, um how did I do this? I had like some thought experiment I did with myself. Where it's like, okay, if 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 I didn't have to put in any of the work, like would I still want to play the game? Or like if I was able to go pro, like and I was able to do the amount of work I want to do and not that I feel like I have to do, like would I want to do that? And I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. If I could go pro and like just play the game for like an hour or two and not have to spend like 8 hours a day like grinding, like that would be so
Mm.
sick. And the other thing that like kind of clued me in that like I still do have a passion for the game is I'd have dreams about competing, like while I was burned out, and those dreams I'd be like at land just like yeah, like screaming, and it was so much fun. And then I wake up and
Yeah.
then I think about, and then I would think about, I'm like, dang, I kind of miss Counter Strike, and then I'd think about trying to play again, and I'd feel sick to my stomach, and then I would sit with it. I'm like, why do I feel that? And it was like it was always associated with the amount of work putting in. Where it's like I can't do that. I
Right.
can't go back to that. Like the game is
No.
fun. I love IGLing. I love playing. I love competing, but the work association with it like corrupted that passion. And so that's why I'm like,
Right.
it kind of clued me in that I think there still is a passion for the game, but it's just been corrupted by like this burnout.
Mm.
That's how
Mm.
kind of I solved it for myself.
But
Like,
you can get that back again. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be too worried. You can get that back.
okay.
Um,
I was gonna say too. I think I have like another thing that would help to it too is like unattaching myself from like all those things that was forcing me to have a need for the game, which was like the whole career. And now I have like a backup plan for my career, so it's like now I can actually just play the
yeah.
game for fun. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah. That's right.
Um,
You hit on a really good point here too. But the games should be fun,
yeah,
and I used to stress that with our team as well. It should sound like it's fun
yeah,
in our comms, and we play our best when we're nice and relaxed and when we're having fun.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, lots of people don't get to experience that quite so much, and they should make it more of a priority, because that helps stop the burnout as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you say that too. And I think that was like something that like really clicked for me, that like more work doesn't equal more performance, was during that off period I had after the last team. Like there was like a month or two where I was still trying to find a team and I was still grinding before like I full on just like I was like fuck this, like fuck this game. So it lasted like 2 more months. It was probably around like September, November, when I really just like kind of just quit. I was like I actually like grieved the game. I was like I cry. I was like I'm probably not I don't have it in me anymore. And it was like a really rough period. And like a month later, there was a local tournament, and my IRL friends were like, "Dude, we should play in that." And I was like, like sure, whatever. Like it'll be fun. I don't really like the game, whatever. I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
And I went there. I was like, I'm gonna go there and just have fun. Who gives a fuck? Like if I don't care if I perform well, this is not even a real team. And I was with my shitter friends. Like these guys are bad. Not all of them, but they're like one of them. One
They're
of them
not
was in the
watching it all,
chat.
are they?
No, one of them was in the chat. Uh, Jake. But at this LAN, I literally went for pure fun, and I was like, I'm gonna shit talk, just have fun. Like I'm gonna do goofy shit in the game. I'm gonna try, but like whatever. Um, and I played the best I have ever played in my life.
Yeah.
The best. I was calling insane. I was having a blast. We were joking the whole time. I was screaming at the other
Yeah.
team,
I love it.
and I hit, dude. It was on. I hit like in one series. I hit like three 1v5s, and like one of them was like
Wow.
a 1v5 with a Deagle Ace 1v5. All five headshots, five bullets. I literally was like ROPS.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never played that good in my life, and none of it got recorded because it was like a local tournament. There was no demo. I
Right.
couldn't stream.
Oh,
There was
no.
no. They didn't stream our match, but it
Yep.
was. I remember after that tournament, I was like leaving, and I was like, that was so much fun, and part of me
Yeah.
was like so upset that I didn't have any proof that I played this well. But then like
Right.
a couple of days went by, and like I just kept thinking about that, and I was like, maybe that wasn't for anyone else, but that was like maybe that was just for me to show me that like
Mm.
you don't need you don't need to be trying so hard to play that well. Like that was like a
Right.
first-hand experience. Like you can have fun and play, like you can just let loose if that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Um,
I want to just touch back on those points, because probably the reason why you did play so well is because your expectations were so low
yeah, there
for
was
performance.
nothing. Yeah,
Exactly,
I went
nothing.
into that.
You were expecting to be not enjoying it.
No, I literally told them, I
um,
was like, dude, like we're probably not gonna win a round. Like I literally went in there, was like, if we win a round, that's a win. That was how low my
yeah,
expectations
yeah.
were.
Right, right.
Like
And so oftentimes when athletes sort of go into a game that way, traditional athletes as well as esport players, they play out of their mind. They do so much better because all the leashes are off,
yeah,
and they can just be and do what they do best.
yeah,
And so it's not surprising to me that you had a really great game there, and it's good for me to hear that too, because I want to hear you having a fun time with friends.
yeah,
That's what esports should be about. It should be about having a fun time with friends. You spend a lot of hours with them, and if it's not fun, that's a real grind, and that can lead to burnout too. The
yeah.
expectations are not being met there.
So then, where do you think a lot of people go wrong, where they lose the fun? Uh, because I mean, I
I
know.
think.
Yeah, unless you want
Go
to.
on.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know for myself, I lost the fun when I became attached, and I had to
To
make it
the
work.
outcome.
But I'm
Yeah.
assuming there's probably plenty other ways that people lose the fun. I don't know if you want to go over those.
I'm thinking it's very aligned to what you're just saying. Where I have to perform in order for me to have a certain outcome, a certain lifestyle. Those sort of pressures are really big pressures, and it's unhelpful to performance to have
Yeah,
that. It's far better off, if you pay attention to the things that you can control in the moment and really enjoy being with your teammates, that's more likely to lead to good performance than all the pressure.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think there's anything else that could potentially like lead to someone losing the fun in the game, or maybe there's like tips to keep it like to promote more fun when you play?
Well, it's where your expectations, where your focus is as to why you're doing the sport or the esport. Why are you doing this? And you find often in traditional sport, you've got athletes who suddenly get a really massive payday. They're signed to this massive contract, and they perform really badly after that.
Mm.
It's often because they feel under a lot of pressure to perform now. Before that, it was fun, and now they've got to justify to themselves and maybe to others why they're worth this big salary, and it's just so much pressure on them. So it is looking at values, looking at goals, and making sure they're all aligned properly. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So then would you say like something that would help is like having walkaway power with the game? Like to ultimately know that you will survive not having to go pro. Like
Sure,
and then
sure,
yeah, I was gonna say like just think of like I guess it's kind of coming to mind now. Where it's like where I think about that, where it's like okay, if you can't say to yourself that like truly walk away from trying to go pro, if like like your instinctual thought is no, it'd be like why, and that's probably where you'll find a lot of like hidden things that might be like controlling your life that you don't realize. Like, because I
right.
know for myself, I couldn't walk away because one was a logistical issue. I don't have a like a financial logistical. I don't have a backup plan. Like this has to work.
Hmm.
Another one was like I don't feel good enough as a person. I don't feel worthy, and I want to feel. I wanted attention. I wanted like respect, and I thought I could achieve that through a career in esports to like show that like I'm not just some loser or something. And like that really
Hmm.
made me attached to like this need to go pro versus just actually addressing that. Like why do I feel like that in the first place? You know? So I don't know, that's like kind of something that comes to mind, which is like if you can like sit with like the idea of walking away and there's some like something inside you that tells you no, it's like you should sit with that no and figure out why, like what's telling you that you can't walk away from the game. You'll probably learn a lot about
Mm,
yourself.
for sure. It's as I said to you, it's all about what are your values. How is what you're doing now meeting your values or not? Are you? It's all about getting the right goals. Pretty well.
Yeah. So I guess this kind of just comes to mind too because you mentioned like working with Zotech. Um, have you had like any other clients with like severe cases of burnout, and what have they like recovered, and what has it looked like
Yeah,
since the
lots of
recovery?
them. Lots of them. But also when I'm working with them, I don't let them get too severe.
That's
Hopefully,
true. Yeah.
um, they usually the symptoms of burnout. The first thing I want to look at would be if a person is not performing to the best of their ability. They're doing like you doing the work. They're trying their best, and the performance is not there. First flag gets raised for me. Are they burned out here?
Mm.
Um, and that's the helpful question I would ask under those circumstances.
How I'm sure it's not like just one bad performance like is a sign of burnout.
No,
How
no, it's over a week or so
I
at
was about to
least.
say how like what should you like look
Right.
for like a week?
Yeah, yeah. So I would think a week is depressing enough, isn't it, to have a week of bad performances? And if it goes longer than that, then for sure.
Yeah.
But burnout and depression are actually quite. Burnout is a sort of a subset of depression.
Really?
It's a special form of depression, and so if it's not burnout, if there's no misaligned expectations, or I haven't recently done lots of extra work, been at a LAN or done something differently, I would probably investigate depression maybe as another avenue, as another reason as to why someone might be feeling that way. It very likely, if it's not burnout, it will be depression.
Really?
They're just very closely allied.
That's interesting. So then what are the similarities between burnout and depression then? Like
Oh, it's the lack of enjoyment or what previously used to be enjoyable.
Mm.
It's very similar symptoms. So, um, uh, I'm not sleeping well, or I'm sleeping more. It's just generally around lack of enjoyment. I'm not enjoying who I am. Um, my goals have changed, or things along those lines. I just feel like I'm worthless, or I don't think I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah.
Or I'm not achieving what I'm meant to achieve.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. That kind of when you just said it right there, the I'm not feeling what I should be. Wait, what was it? I am not doing what I should be doing. Is that what you said?
Mhm.
What I'm meant to be doing?
Yeah.
That was something else I wrote down. Which I was just curious about talking about was like during that time period where I did just finally just go like fuck it, fuck Counter Strike, I'm done, and I like walked away. I like talking to you now. Ideally, I would walk away and just be like, okay, I should walk away. It's okay to walk away and just take a break. But when I did it almost out of like it was finally like I had so much like burnout. I like had to walk away, and I almost had this feeling of like like the story of Jonah and like Nineveh in the Bible.
Mhm.
I felt like I
Mhm.
was like Jonah, like running away from like Nineveh,
Right.
and like I kept on.
Right.
I don't know if I think it may have prolonged my burnout where I'd
And
beat
Bail has
myself
dragged
up.
you back.
You said what?
The whale has dragged you back.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I think it almost like extended my burnout because the whole time that I was trying to, I should just be taking a break and just relaxing. I was taking a break, but I was beating myself up for it the whole time.
Right.
Just like I should be playing. I should be playing. Why do I feel like this? I should be playing.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's not restful at all.
Not at all. It was yeah,
Mm.
not at all. And I'm just curious, like, if you have any thoughts on that, like just that like
Yeah.
feeling or
It sounds very close to being depressed to me, doesn't it?
really.
Mm.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I had some like form of depression
Mm.
post the team or whatnot. You know,
Right.
I definitely would not be surprised.
Mm. But of course, you can recover from both those things, both burnout and depression.
Yeah,
Circumstances change. Your outlook will change when you align your goals with your values. Those things will help,
yeah,
and that's how you recapture the fun and excitement again.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Here, let me see. Yeah, where did I just do with this? I had some other stuff. I want to make sure I'm not gonna miss
I
some.
want to ask
Yeah.
Sam, did these feelings in the game, did they leach into the rest of your life as well?
Yes.
Did you feel right?
Yes. And I ended up replacing Counter Strike with other avenues to like because I definitely know that Counter Strike was fulfilling a lot of my needs, which uh it's not ideal because then I became I had this attachment to the game. I couldn't separate myself from it. Where like someone was like feeling good enough as a person. That was definitely like being attached to it. And so then when the whole Counter Strike stuff went south, then it swapped to something else like fucking martial arts or
Right.
bodybuilding or skateboard. Yeah, skateboarding for a while.
So trying to fill a hole.
Yes, 100%.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I was definitely trying to fill a hole with CS and I forgot what I was about to say, but yeah,
I think until you sort of answer those questions about who am I, what are my values, what are my new goals now, until you actually sort them out, filling a hole is probably not a useful strategy because you'll come up against the same feelings over again.
yeah,
It's the answer is going to be who am I, what do I need to do next?
yeah,
That's those answering those big questions, they're going to be the ones that sustain you for the future.
yeah. That's definitely something I need to sit with for sure. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it was yeah, I remember after the whole CS thing, I'm trying to think of the well, there was a whole relationship that happened, and then I jumped straight into that. Like that was and looking back on it, I was like, okay, that was definitely me trying to also fulfill like fill a hole. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was also
The
martial
rebound
arts.
love.
Yeah. My love for Counter Strike went to a love for a girl. Yeah, that definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't work out so well.
No, no, it didn't. But there was that, and then after the relationship, there was the whole bodybuilding. There was like a whole like fucking phase I had with eating
Right.
healthy,
A
and
sequence of things. Yeah.
it was yeah, and I realized I was like, dude, I keep on just fucking swapping one thing for the next. It wasn't Counter Strike, it was relationship. It
Right.
wasn't a relationship. It was like this health phase, and then it wasn't the health phase. It
Yep.
was skateboarding. If it wasn't skateboarding, it was what was it? Martial arts. Like that's been the recent one. Like there was like a period where, dude, I
You're
was
lucky you're
sparring like
choosing
every
healthy
day.
behaviors
Yeah.
and not unhealthy behaviors.
Well, in a
There's plenty of people try
yeah.
to fill holes with unhealthy behaviors, and that's not good either.
Yeah, well, that's the thing where it's like I feel like almost the problem with filling it with healthy behaviors is that it's harder to recognize that it's coming from an unhealthy
Not
place.
good for you.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, I'm doing something, I'm working out, or I'm
Mm.
skateboarding, but it's like, dude, I'm doing it too much. Like,
Yeah.
I became like obsessive with a lot of other things, just like how I was obsessive with Counter Strike, and
Right.
yeah, there's definitely been a lot of like, just like growing pains over the like last like
Hmm.
what 6 to 9 months, where I
Right.
definitely think I have a different outlook, and
Hmm.
I think the burnout is starting to fade, but it's still definitely present. Um, but I think it's definitely
I
starting to
think
fade because of this.
I wonder if it's a little bit of fear, though, Sam.
Yeah,
Fear of I hope it doesn't come back, and I think that you're less likely to have it come back if you've changed your goals, if you've adapted your goals, and you. It sounds like you've got a new plan. You've got a plan to finish your studies, become me.
yeah,
um, that's a plan.
yeah,
Well, you look good with blonde hair.
yeah. I moved to Australia too.
That's
Have
right.
a
New
big ass
Australian accent.
bright light in my eye when I'm doing an interview.
That's right. But yeah, having a new plan means that you don't need to be quite so scared that it's going to come back. So don't
I
be
th-
worried about that.
I think okay, that's definitely part of it. I think I'm definitely partly scared that's gonna come back, but I'm also
Hmm.
partially scared that my change of plans is not going to work. Where it's like, okay, let's say I do less. Like, there's just like this voice that comes to my head. It's like, you're not going to go pro. Like, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
And that scares me. And it scares me because I definitely still think I am somewhat attached to that. Like, that need to do that. Yeah.
If you don't go pro, what's the worst that will happen?
Um, the worst, I guess there'd just be a lot of regret. Where it's like, maybe I could have done more. Or maybe I could have done less, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, regret.
See, I'm looking at the world circumstances of CS right now, and really, it's not in great shape.
It's
It's
not.
very hard to go pro.
That's
Very,
the other
very hard to
thing.
go pro.
Yeah. That's like the other
And
thing
so
that
that's
made
not
it
in your
so
control.
scary. It's not, no.
Mm.
Which that's also what I had written down where it's like the knowledge of how unlikely it is. And this is
Mm.
not just like being a doomer. It's like this is a reality as someone who's spent
Of course.
years trying to go
Hmm.
pro in this game. And this is a
Yep.
very popular esport. Uh the reality of actually going pro is not just like you have to be good enough. It's like there's so many players who are good enough. So many.
Mm.
But there's only like 15 fucking jobs in NA. Like if you really think about it.
Hmm. And
There's
NA isn't even really good at Counter Strike. You've got
and
to be in
no.
Europe.
Yeah, you got to be in Europe. So it's like, dude, imagine like and most of these 15 jobs are held by like 10 years. Like people who aren't giving up their
Mm.
slot. Like you think I'm trying to think of like some top NA players. I've been out of the scene. I haven't watched any games, but let's say
Right.
I think Alicia's on Phase, but let's say before he left Phase, like you really think Alicia was leaving NA? Like that was a shocker. Like he held that like that was his spot, you know, like
Mm.
or like NAF. Like
But to improve, you had to.
you
Mm.
said what?
To improve, you have to. You have to go. Be prepared to go overseas.
Well, for him, yeah, but I'm saying for like
Mm.
players trying to go pro, it's like there's only like 15 slots of pro players, and most of these players they're not leaving. Like they got
Mm.
they got it sealed in stone. You know, like these lifers.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yep.
and like I think that is what scared me. It's like I'm putting in so much work for something that's so unlikely, Uh,
Mm.
and I think I've seen healthy gamer talk about it where it's like the expected reward versus the amount of work you put in. If they're like really off balance, it's going to lead to burnout. And so like the solution is just to drop how much work you put in so that if like the expected reward is like they're equal and you're not at this like I
Well, see,
deserve
I would
this.
say adjust your expectations,
Okay.
because the way I see it is that it's so hard to go pro, and yes, you can try all you want, but even if you were the very best, sometimes just bad luck gets in the way and you
Yeah.
don't get selected. You have to be happy with the journey on the way. Like, you have to be happy with I did the most I possibly could.
Yeah.
And if you did that and you still didn't get pro, you have to be okay with that. And
Yeah.
that's where, there's so much regret from people who don't quite put in enough work, or they don't quite put in enough and they retire, and there's regret. I could have done more, maybe. That those sort of things haunt people. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should put in more work, Sam. You should put in the work that leads to best performance. But if that may not be enough. It's not in your control.
That's what I was going to say where it's like that's like kind of like the reality something I like realized was like um was whatever work amount of work makes you perform the best is the amount of work that you should do. And if
Hmm.
that amount of work isn't enough, then so be it. Doing more
Yep.
is not going to change it because doing more is actually just going to make you play worse. So it's like just
Worse.
do
That's right.
as much work that this is what I was going to do for myself at least is like I'm going to do as much work that makes me play the best. I don't care how
Hmm.
little it sounds. If it sounds like 10 minutes and I somehow play the best on 10 minutes of training, then I'll do 10 minutes of training. Or like there's some players that like they just hop on and they just play, like if I end up finding out that I'm one of
Mm.
those players where it's like I could just like enjoy the
I don't
game
know
for
anyone that can just hop on and do it.
I don't know, like there's like I feel like at some point like there's cuz I've seen like
I
these
don't think that's sustainable. I don't think you can't sustain a pro career doing that.
okay.
But maybe for a short term,
Well,
maybe,
obviously
but
there is some like
very unlikely,
obligations like team practice and stuff, but like
of course.
um but I was gonna say like if whatever amount of work like makes me perform the best, if that's not enough, then doing more isn't gonna change it because I'm already performing my best at
Mm.
that amount of work. So it's
Yeah,
like just so be it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But that's where you've got to be, adaptable in, what are your expectations. And if you don't end up making pro, you've still got to have a good life. You can't have, um, you know, you can't be a half a person doing 100% of CS, for instance,
mm,
and neglecting other parts of your life. It just
yeah,
doesn't work that way. It's not healthy. So you've got to, do some studies or do some work, be a real person, get up in the mornings, be a real person for part of the day at least,
yeah,
um, and live a life, whether that means being in a relationship or doing other things, meeting other family and friends. You've got to be a person. You can't do something to the exclusion of all others, because that makes you a half a person.
yeah.
You don't
No,
want that.
that's yeah, 100% right, and that's definitely what I was doing. Um, Pretty much the whole time I would say like I was like really privileged to have a job where I was able to like practice CS stuff while on the clock.
Mm.
But then like instead of like using that as like, oh, now I have more time for myself outside of work and Counter Strike, it's like that's more time I could spend on Counter Strike. So it's like I'd have like mornings where I wouldn't have to do anything till like 3, 4 o'clock when I have to go into work, and I would
Mm.
spend that whole time grinding on something,
Mm.
whether it's like YouTube or aim training, and then I get to work, and it's like, oh, my job, I have a lot of freedom. I'm gonna spend that doing more Counter Strike, and then came
Mm.
home more Counter
Doing
Strike.
strats.
Yeah, yeah, literally, and it's like I don't know. I just took it to the I didn't. I was like what you said, like half a person.
Mm.
Uh,
You've got
yeah,
to pay attention. Don't sleep through your life. You've got to be a person.
yeah. What do you think are some? I guess you kind of already answered. I was gonna say, what do you think are some telltale signs that like someone might be falling into that same trap that I was in?
Just not having enough interests. not touching grass, Sam. The usual
Yeah.
stuff. You've got to be a real person.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too is that like I would get out, but like I was like I have to get out so I can perform better. It's like everything was for Counter Strike. It's like and something about that mindset is so draining because it adds more pressure where it's like I'm doing everything for this thing, for this game. There must be results. And I have this like expectation like you said, where it's like I'm like
Were you enjoying any of it?
yeah, I was for sure. I would
Okay.
enjoy like the hangouts and stuff. I'd enjoy practice. I really did. I really do enjoy the practice and the aim training. I was enjoying the demo watching. Uh, but I don't know. I just like there's like this obsessiveness with it. Like just like too much, you know.
Mm,
Uh,
mm.
yeah,
I think that's part of the trick is, you know, while you're wanting to go pro, you have to enjoy the process. You have to have fun along the way.
yeah, yeah. I think I was, but yeah, I think it was just some points just too much where I didn't have that healthy boundary
Mm,
with the game.
right.
Um, let me see.
Now, I think there was a question from one of the
There
viewers
was.
on Twitter
Yeah, I have it written
talking
down.
about how do you sustain motivation over a long day where there's online tournament for 10 plus hours, I think. Was it something like the question like that?
Yeah, Calamity on Twitter. How do you maintain optimal in-game slash mental performance during lengthy offline tournament days? 10 plus hours, including delays.
Right. I think you go into these tournaments knowing that everything is not likely to go perfectly, not perfectly smoothly. And so there are likely to be delays. It's a bonus if you don't have delays. And so if you're going in there with that mindset, and if you're enjoying being with your team, it's fun to be playing. That will help sustain you as well. The motivation, the ups and downs of playing and then not playing for a little bit, and then playing again, not playing for a little bit, they can be hard to handle if you're doing it just for the performance sake. But if you're doing it to have fun with your teammates, I think that makes it a much more enjoyable day. I always love hanging out with my teams. I don't know whether they like hanging out with me so much, but I love hanging out with my teams.
Yeah,
um, and we just talk rubbish, and it's just good fun.
yeah,
That's what we should be aiming for, I think.
yeah. I was gonna say like the offline tournament day. Wait, from a lengthy offline tournament day. Is he talking about like lands and stuff?
Offline or online? Did it say online or
It
offline?
said lengthy offline tournament days. So I'm assuming land.
Offline. Okay, so
I was gonna
okay,
say
yeah, it sounds like a LAN.
those long tournaments. Like I always found it the easiest to have what's it called like sustained mental performance because in between games I'm joking around with everyone. Like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you're just having fun, or like you meet other people
Playing
at
to
the
have fun.
LAN. Like yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know, I always found those like really easy to stay focused. But I do
I
notice
guess I could
there's I was gonna oh yeah
go on.
I was gonna say I do notice there's some people I met or played with on LAN where like in between games they hop on aimbots and they're like I
Right.
gotta grind, and it's
That's
like
that's where I was going to point out that the ability to switch on and off is a really good one. So when you're playing the game, you're switched on. Maybe when you're doing a bit of warm up, you switched on. But you have to know to switch off and joke around a little bit as well.
yeah
Plan some downtime at a LAN, have lunch together. Oh, if you really are sick to death of everybody crowding around you, go and find a space to be away from everybody.
yeah.
But switching on and switching off is a good skill to have and develop.
Also helps if you bring air freshener to LAN. Some of that shit gets
Oh
smelly.
yes, and deodorant. Please wear
Yeah.
deodorant.
Dude, it gets bad. It gets bad at some of those. The one at Philly with the UDW roster,
Right,
it was in a basement, and like
right. Oh
dude,
no.
there was workers like walking around spraying people. Like it was bad. I was like,
It's a
man,
public service.
yeah. I
They
was
close
thankful
our
they're
kids
doing
up.
it. Yeah, yeah, like macing people with spray.
Oh dear.
But no, yeah, I think having fun. That's probably what it was. I was more able to have fun at lands than I was able to have fun. Uh, like I guess I would have fun in practices, but there was just like this background not having fun. Like there's this background pressure. Whereas like LAN, I'm like I'm here for fun. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I always found it really easy to have fun on LAN. It's just like talking to people.
Yeah.
That would probably help with this person. I don't know if he's like one of those people that like grinds between matches. I could never do that. I
Right.
have to turn off. Um, Let me see. I'll try. I had definitely had some other questions. Uh, yeah, I think I was gonna ask you about imposter syndrome because I feel like it's almost like related to what I was experiencing. Where like I felt like I know for a big
Well,
part.
it's probably an anxiety more than anything else. But go on, tell me
Okay.
a bit more.
Well, I was gonna. Well, maybe it's not even imposter syndrome. What I was going through, I just labeled it as that. Where I felt like the level I was playing at, I could only like I the I don't know how to put it. It's like so. Let's say I made it to advanced, right? I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was getting away with something. Like I felt
Right.
like
They haven't caught up with me yet.
wait, like they haven't caught up with me. What do you mean?
Just that's usually the feeling that imposter syndrome brings. They haven't caught on to me that I'm not as good as I think
Yes.
they think I am.
Yes, like I would get that a lot, and then people would ask me questions because I like make videos or whatever, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like part of me is just like, dude, I don't like. There's a big part of me is like, I don't belong here, and I feel like I got lucky,
Right.
and
Yeah, yeah.
that would make me,
That's clearly imposter syndrome.
yes, yeah, that's why, yeah, and it would make me like work harder because I'm like, I don't belong here. I need to work hard so I could
Mm-hmm.
stay here, and then it made me like attach working hard with the reason why I'm at the level that I'm at versus just being skilled and just being confident in my skills. Like and then I think that's what I had too is like I definitely had like this attachment that my value as a player was not in my skills. My value as a player was in I was a workhorse. And that's why I was wanted because I just worked. I worked harder than everyone else. And I don't think that's a good thing.
No,
I think it's like, okay, cool. You can get a lot of work done, cool. But I identified with that,
not
and I was like,
sustainable.
no, it's not sustainable at all.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's like how I viewed myself as a player. I'm like, I'm valuable to a team
Right.
just because I work hard. I work more. I work
That was never the reason why I valued you on our team.
really.
That was not the reason.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Cause
um,
yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
I miss those days for sure.
I miss those days too. But yeah, that was definitely like a big thing in my head. It's just like I'm only here because I work harder than everyone else, and that's the only like that, and I have
Okay,
to
so
keep that up.
what you would do to try and counter imposter syndrome is to look at evidence that you deserve to be here. So if you look at your figures, if you look at what you bring to a team, if your mistaken belief is just about being a workhorse, that's not it. It's the quality of strats, it's the quality of thoughtfulness, it's the way you approach matches. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on around that that's not at all to do with how hard you work. It's what you bring. And so when there's evidence of that, um, you know, if you're I'm just trying to think. Remember how we used to debrief after our matches, and ideally, you want to have people give you acknowledgement of things that you're doing well, and they say, "Okay, Sam, your calling was fantastic. You thought through those processes. You had great reads on those. They're qualities that you've brought yourself. It's not really to do with how much hard work you put in. It's you understanding the gameplay and bringing that to the team. That's the value there.
Yeah,
And so understanding where your value lies in an objective way, that's going to be helpful for you to counter imposter syndrome.
okay. Yeah, it's interesting you say that. Like kind of like recognizing the positives that you bring
Hmm.
as a player.
That you
Because
deserve to be there.
yeah, because that was like a big thing that would always because I go to therapy. I think everyone should. I think it's a really good thing. And that was always a big thing where the guy's like, well, like, what are some good aspects you could say about yourself? And like, I always hated that question because
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Like, there's things I could recognize, but like, it feels wrong to recognize them.
Mm.
Uh, And
Well,
like,
society, as us as a society, doesn't normally value us telling everyone how good we are.
yeah, 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 definitely. And it's interesting that like what he was doing there is like similar to like kind of what you're saying is like recognize like what you do actually bring. And there's nothing wrong with recognizing the good that you bring to a team or
Mm.
the good that you have as an individual.
It
Uh,
helps you understand your place, your place in the world.
yeah. And it reminds me of what you'd always say too, and also from what I've heard too, like from the debriefs, you're like look at for the good in your teammates.
Hmm.
Like you always emphasize that. Like look at what your teammates are doing good. I saw too, like I saw from like some other coach like articles and stuff. And some of these coaches are
Hmm.
like it's more important to emphasize the good that your teammates are doing than to emphasize the bad that they're doing, like the stuff they're doing wrong. Like it's so much more
Absolutely.
important to point out your teammates' strengths than to point out their weaknesses. Like both are good to point out,
That's,
but one should be way more than the other.
mm,
And
mm.
it's like if
I
you can
mean,
do this with your teammates, you should be also doing this with yourself.
correct, correct. Because it's playing sport is a confidence thing. If you know you're bringing the right stuff to your team and you're doing a good job, then you'll be confident. And where you're not confident, you don't play so well. So acknowledging your teammates' good behaviours, what it is, how they're helping the team. That's helpful for the team in terms of building their confidence and
Yeah,
helping them play better. Why wouldn't you do it?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was always like my one of the parts I look forward to during the debriefs. I'm like, okay, like
Yeah,
what can I recognize about my teammates? Because I know that's gonna make
yeah.
them feel
You're always
good.
so good at
Oh,
it.
thank you. Yeah, I love that part of the debrief.
Yeah.
Uh, let me see. I think I had some other stuff too. Okay. Uh,
I've got just a few more minutes,
yeah, you have your other
Sam, because
clients.
I've got my client.
I don't want to hold you up too
Yep.
long. What do you have like a what's the hard cutoff? Is it
Probably about 5 minutes.
oh 5 minutes? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay. No,
the
you're
doctor is
good.
moving on.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Uh, okay. I guess
Oh,
you
actually,
can
wait. I've got a bit more time. I've got a bit more time. I've just got an email from saying my client is sick, so I'll just message her back and saying it's okay.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. How much long? Because I don't want to hold you all night either. You might want
No,
to take
no,
that time
we
for
can do
yourself.
half an hour.
Okay, that should be plenty. I don't even think I have that much left. Um, yeah. Okay. So this is another thing I had too, which was because I'm pretty into philosophy. Like I get really into philosophy, and
Mm-hmm.
so is my brother. We talk a lot about philosophy. I'm minoring in it, and so is he. And he was learning about Kierkegaard. I think this is. Oh, no, I'm mixing it up with something else. I learned this one in my class talking about. I think it was Descartes, who said that like humans are like intrinsically valuable. Like there is no like people aren't valuable because of like what they do. They're just inherently valuable. And I realized that I derived a lot of my value from what I would provide as a person. Like that's what I thought made me valuable. And if I'm not providing
Mm-hmm.
or like making someone laugh, if I'm not making someone have a good time, if I'm not being a good leader, if I'm not bringing enough work to the team, like I was like I thought that's what made me valuable as a person. Um, like the and I think that's what brought a lot of stress with like the amount of work I put in, and in like the philosophical sense, I was like reducing my own intrinsic value as a human to instrumental value, and that led to a lot of like overworking because I thought that's what made me valuable as a person. Uh,
Right.
and I would notice that I'd have like the worst days where I would be like most likely to give into bad habits were always my rest days. Days where I couldn't work out, days I couldn't do martial arts, I couldn't skateboard, days I couldn't hang out with friends or aim train, practice. Those were the days like I would feel the absolute worst. And it's because I was relying on these things so much
Mm.
to
The dopamine fix.
well, the dopamine fix, and then also just like this view of myself. I'm like, these are what
Right.
makes me a good
This is
like
my
valuable.
purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I just thought I'd like mention that. I don't know if you have like any thoughts about that, but
Mm, not sure. it all gets back to the message of today. Really, Sam, is work. What are your values? Let's adjust your goals so that you're working within your values.
Yeah.
That's what it all amounts to. I think
Yeah.
that's the message for today.
Okay. That is a good message for the day. Here, let me see. That was one thing. Um, I had a bunch of other ones. All right, let's see. There was. I covered that one. Okay, I guess we could talk about mistakes, how to view
Hmm.
mistakes, because that was a big thing. Whereas I was always trying to avoid mistakes. That's why I'd put in more
Right.
work. A mistake would happen. I'm like, I gotta work on that. I have to work on that. I have to work on that. How should one view mistakes, and how should one address mistakes when they occur?
Okay. So anytime you put yourself under pressure to perform, let's say at a in an official, for instance, or even in scrims, I suppose, um, you you want to look for not just things you're doing wrong, but things you're doing right. We have a tendency, I think, to look at only the things that go wrong, and there are a million ways for things to go wrong. If you look at instead of what I should be avoiding, if you look at what I should be doing and doing that, that helps minimize the mistakes. So if you think of the long list of things that you've got that you shouldn't be doing, the list is endless, right? There's a
Yeah,
million ways of things to get things wrong. But if you say, okay, I need to peak this angle, I need to do this timing, these are the things you should be doing, then that's a much shorter list, much easier to remember. So think of it that way. Look at the things you should be doing and do them, and don't worry too much about the mistakes. They're inevitable. No one's perfect. So we're all going to make mistakes. Let's just try to aim for the things we should be doing well more often.
yeah.
Secondly,
Oh
go on.
no, I was gonna say that's really simple, but like I don't know, that just clicked something like in my head, because
Yeah, yeah.
that's a big thing I always do is like trying to avoid versus just trying to pursue what is
Because
good.
some people are very, very anxious about avoiding mistakes. You can avoid it. You can avoid that anxiety about mistakes by looking at what you should be doing and doing that.
Yeah,
That's a much more productive way of thinking. Secondly, don't look at mistakes as being a real problem. It's a learning process. So if you're making mistakes, if things aren't quite working out the way you wanted it to, you've got the potential to change. Do it. Don't keep making the same mistakes over and over again. You've got to learn from those things. So if you're not doing something right, what should you be doing? Do that. Um, yeah, looking at mistakes as a learning process is a healthier way to go, rather than beating yourself up over all the mistakes you're making. Providing you learn from it.
yeah. Um, there's someone that just asked in the chat. He said, "Can you ask her what is the mindset that separates us normies from pros?" I feel like
I
that's a
don't think there's
really
very
broad question.
there's really I've worked in both areas, and really there's not much between like similarity. There's not much between you, so there's hope. There's any one of us could make it, honestly.
Wait, really? Like
But
the
yeah,
mindset is
I'm very
not that
being very
different?
honest and truthful here. There's really nothing much separating, um, like the nearly there and the pros. There's really nothing much there.
Really?
A lot of it is luck, like you in the right spot at the right time and you get picked up. That's fantastic. I mean, it's not to say the pros don't work hard, they do, but they have exactly the same sort of issues that everyone in advanced and downwards has as well, and it's no different. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's really relieving to hear because you always just look at these people like they're superheroes, you know?
they're not. They put their trousers on one leg at a time too.
Yeah. Double leg it, jump up, get both in.
Triple backflip.
Yeah. That's
No,
simple.
it's just
That's simple.
standard.
Okay. Uh, he said, "Aha, thank you." Let me see. I think I think that is pretty much everything I had down. We discussed like the imposter syndrome. I'm looking through this one more time because I want to make sure I got everything. Uh, we kind of already covered that. I just had like down like the sunk cost fallacy. Um, what's your thoughts on that?
Working hard it's working hard to try and capture something you haven't quite got, and you think the answer is working harder. It's
Well,
not. It's
yeah.
sometimes it is we've spoken about it already. We've said, is it leading to good performance? That's the right question to ask. If it leads to good performance, keep doing it. If it doesn't lead to good performance, stop doing it.
Also, I guess in the same sense with the sunk cost fallacy, like when is it actually time to hang up the mouse? Like when does one realize that?
Yeah, it's always a hard one. That one, I think you have to really. Hopefully, you get a chance to think about it, and it's not just someone who's cut from the team and circumstances are beyond them. Hopefully, it is going to be your decision, but that's in the ideal circumstances. So we're not always lucky enough to have that. But if assuming it is your decision, I think all you can do is say, I gave it my very best shot, and I'm going to have to leave it here, unfortunately, probably. Or maybe the time is right and I'm happy to leave it here. I don't know. But I know from myself, like even in traditional sports, the research shows, and I was true in that case too. It takes about 2 years to get over being in my case, I was a track and field athlete, and I worked, a lot of hours for a number of years trying to make it. And I was not talented enough, which is fine. But I was leaving that lifestyle, leaving the friends, the group of friends that I was with. That was the hardest thing. And
Yeah.
it took me 2 years to get over that, maybe find a new friendship group or new interests. It took me a long time to get over that. And so I was mildly depressed during that period of time too. Because you've got to, your whole life is built around these hours of practice and these people that I'm with that I really enjoyed their company. It was great fun. And to have that sort of taken away, or even me choosing to remove myself from that, was really, really hard.
Yeah.
And so you just have to be a bit not careful, that's not the right word, but you have to be understanding of yourself that, it's, again, values, realigning your goals, finding something else new to capture that attention for you.
Yeah. I remember you mentioned your sons were also athletes too.
My
How
eldest one was a gymnast. Yeah.
did he have something similar too? Or
Uh,
is he still competing?
no. He was an elite gymnast. He had a trampolining accident and broke 2 vertebrae in his neck, and he was out of the sport for 2 years. He was lucky to walk,
That's
and
crazy.
so he he knew he wanted to come back, and he came back to gymnastics. And I think he competed for about a year, but he was then out of the sequence for the Olympic Games, which is what he really had his heart set on. And I guess he agonized over realizing that he'd given up a lot of his life at that point to gymnastics. He'd tried to do uni, I think at least 3 times, and couldn't fit it in with the hours of training he had. Like he was training, I think, close to 30 hours a week. It was pretty big. And he just couldn't fit in the university stuff. And so when he retired from gymnastics, he went back to university, and actually he graduated at university, I think only last year, end
Oh,
of
really?
last year, like in I can't remember what they call it, the dean's list, like the
Really?
top people in his year. Like,
Yeah.
good on you, Phil, because he tried so hard to get things finished all those years that he couldn't finish a course, and now that he had full time, he actually did really well. So
Yeah, hell
very
yeah.
proud of him.
Yeah,
And
W Phil.
he studied in an area where he hoped to be still in the same field. He wanted to get into elite gymnastics still, but as an administrator.
Okay.
And so he did high performance training, high performance management course, and he's now currently an assistant high performance manager at his old gym
Wow.
at the high performance center. So
Yeah.
he's living the dream, but as an administrator now.
Yeah, that's good for him. That's really cool to
Mm.
hear. Going back to
So I
uni.
guess you can find a way. Like even for me, like I always wanted to be a psychologist. Even from my very early days, um, I wanted to do something with the sport that I loved and give back to the sport. And for me, um, I'm now 63. I haven't always worked as well. I've sort of worked as a sports psychologist part time, and I tried to make my career in sports psychology by teaching at university in sports psychology and other stuff that I didn't enjoy quite so much. So you've got to suck it up and take the bad with the good, but
Yeah.
you've got to try and keep your hand in there as much as possible, doing the things you love and the things that give you meaning, and find a way to work in an area where you're really passionate about.
Yeah.
So, maybe being a pro player may not be it for you, Sam, but maybe there's something else in esports that takes that place for you, that maybe not as a player, but something else.
No,
That could be the next step.
100%. And if I'm being honest, hearing that a year ago would like scare the shit out of me. But hearing that
Would have
now
killed you.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, hearing that now is like actually like really exciting. It's like, fuck yeah, I would love to
Yeah.
do
There's
something.
other options.
Yeah, yeah. There's other options because that's what I want to do. Regardless, like even when I was trying to go pro, I always wanted to finish like and just ride out the career as a coach or as some type of like therapist that works with teams or like a psychologist,
Hmm.
sports psychologist. And then also the YouTube channel too. It's like I always wanted to continue the videos, but like almost like where I'm in your shoes and I'm like diving into the psyche of some other
Helping.
pro
Yeah.
player and like, hey, let's talk about why
Right.
you tilt, you know?
Right.
Uh
Right. Right.
it's like that's always been like my end goal. It's like regardless of what happens, that sounds amazing. That sounds so much fun to do.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah. Yeah.
and like actually now taking steps to go pursue that is so relieving because I didn't have that before.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Having said that, Sam, my project I'm working on, I'm just about to wipe out the field of sports psychology, though,
Oh
so don't
yeah,
go to that one.
yeah. I'm gonna lose my job before I get it because of you.
That's
Well,
right.
yeah. If you want to talk about that, because we're gonna be doing a video on that
Oh,
too.
well, yeah, we want to talk more about this next time, maybe.
Oh, I mean, if you want to
We've
mention
just had
it,
all we've had all the legal stuff approved today, so hopefully we're going to launch today or tomorrow, very, very soon. I've been working on a project with two other guys. With Zotek, he's one of them, and another guy, Jordan, who I work with in Counter-Strike here in Australia. So those two boys are programmers, and I'm the sports psychologist, clearly, because I'm not a programmer. And we've come up with an AI sports psychology coach. Well, we're not legally allowed to call it a sports psychology coach. It's a mental performance coach. But these boys have programmed Pocket. The name of our company is Pocket Coach. So Pocket is a animated um, penguin who will offer advice to you. You can talk to Penguin. You can talk to the Pocket, our penguin, our AI coach, and tell it what things are impacting you at the moment, how you're feeling, how you're playing, and Pocket will give you some very, very good advice based on content that I've written and Reed has written. Reed's a very experienced coach and former world championship player in many esports titles. So between us, we've got some really great experience, and Jordan's got some great experience too in Counter-Strike. So Pocket is going to wipe out the need for sports psychologists pretty soon, I'm afraid. It's very,
yeah.
very good.
I'm really curious to see how it's gonna work. And also, it's spelled POKKET, right?
Yeah, Pocket with two Ks,
Yeah.
pocketcoach.com. And as I said, it's going to be released very shortly. Now, the idea is you can talk to Pocket like 24/7, and it's going to cost, I think, $20 US a month to subscribe to it. And it will have lots of interesting quizzes to help identify, what sort of tilter you are, or how what sort of practice, how disciplined you are at practicing, a whole lot of different things with lots of great insight, totally worth the money. An annual subscription to Pocket Coach costs about the same amount as 1 hour talking to a sports psychologist, so it's dirt cheap,
Yeah.
and you can use it whenever you want. And it's very, 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 very smart. It's got some great brains. It will remember you from conversation to conversation, unlike other AI chat GTP type stuff where you just put in a question and it answers you. You could be Joe Bloggs, and when you ask another question, it'll be it won't remember who you are. But Pocket Coach will remember who you are and will build up that knowledge about what you like and what you don't like, what your strengths and weaknesses are, and it will make some very sensible suggestions to you to how to improve your performance.
Yeah, that
So
sounds.
really excited about bringing this. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm really excited to
Can't
try
wait
it
to show
out.
you, Sam.
Yeah, yeah, the Pocket. Yeah, is there like is that like a open thing, the sign up for the beta,
You could
or
sign up now probably and yeah. So we have to put out a minimally viable product, and a minimally viable product actually is very, very good. So you would get access to Pocket through this. And then there are 3 quizzes on there at the moment, and we just need a little bit more time, and we'll build up more, add more quizzes, and but yeah, talking to Pocket is just so valuable. Pocket will give you lots of great advice.
yeah, definitely. This video would
So
be pretty sick.
I think next time we do a podcast, Sam, we're going to get you to unbox Pocket Coach,
Yeah, hell
have a
yeah.
look, ask it some questions, and see what responses you get. I think you'll be really impressed.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I'll have like performance questions, and hopefully, I'll be competing
Yeah.
soon.
Ask it about burnout. Ask it about a whole lot of things.
Well, hopefully, I won't have to ask about burnout by the time it comes
No,
out. That
that's
would be
right. That's
ideal.
right.
But if I have to,
Yep.
like, I'm definitely curious to see how it goes.
Mm,
I also
Yep.
do want to respect your time too. I believe
Appreciate it.
there are chats, but yeah, you have clients. Is there anything else you want to mention when we wrap this up?
No, I think that's fine. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with you today. I
Yeah.
love catching up.
Yeah, for sure. I missed playing with you and talking to you
Yep.
as well. Is there anything? Oh,
It's a
you're
small world. We'll meet again, I'm sure, Sam.
that would be sick. Yeah, somewhere if I'm like I'll be your coworker or something. Maybe like
Yeah,
15 years from
pro
now.
player.
Yeah, or that something like that. Oh, your
Yep.
YouTube channel, Twitter. It's just Pocket Psychology, right? Pocket Psych.
Yeah, Pocket Twitter is Pocket Psych.
Pocket
It's
Psych.
probably the best way to contact me.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate this.
Pleasure.
This is awesome.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thank you.